What is up, Diecast racing fans? You're watching the NASCAR Nitro Series on the HSL Diecast Racing channel, and we are doing qualifying, the last chance qualifiers and the duels for the 2025 NASCAR Nitro Daytona 500. Now, this is a field filler car demonstrating a little predicament that I'm in. My timing system went kaput at the worst possible time. 2 cars into the qualifying session. They both made pretty good times. There's nothing to really compare them against. Because this is what happens. Just wait until it crosses the line there. Reads zeros. Straight zeros. So since this happened on such short notice, and it's like only 10 degrees outside, I'm putting the field fillers away for this race. And all mail-in entries that finish the lap are going to get into the show in both the mods and the stocks. Where each car is going to start will be determined by playing cards, a random draw. Meanwhile, there's another field filler registers nothing but zeros on the timer, just to show that it's not a fluke. But we're going to start off with Riot Isaac. And the way this is going to work, there's not going to be any field fillers in the Daytona 500. Your car crosses the finish line, it gets into the race, and it gets a playing card. And that's how the lineups are going to be set. The car barely makes it across the line. It's obviously off pace compared to the others. Then the 2 slowest cars will drag race each other to see who starts in last. So up next is Riot Isaac's teammate for Puffs Racing, Baby Richie. These castings are all mechanically identical, should put up very similar lap times. They don't seem to have any problem navigating the track at all. And now in the red 44, this is Richie, not to be confused with his teammate Baby Richie. And after him will be Isaac in the petty blue number 42, not to be confused with Riot Isaac. The low rear ends on these cars may present a little problem with the start gate, but they definitely make it up by the time they get off the split track portion, as all 4 of Puff's cars fly across the line. And the next team up to try their hand at qualifying is the Barora Bangers. We're going to start off with number 12, Nessa Force, driving that slick Plymouth Roadrunner. And Force executes a flawless lap, and now this is her teammate, Jimbo Rockford, who you may know from Lord Shanks Racing Series. In his native Australia, Jimbo was massively successful there, got a win, and was a threat for the title. Let's see if he can replicate his success here in America. And up next is the 2 identical G-bodies of Cut Rock Creek Racing, sent in by Mark D., one of our channel's biggest supporters. Shout out to Mark D. This is the number 71 Oldsmobile of Coffee Tart. And his teammate, Crazy Ruby, in the number 72 Monte Carlo. Flies out the gate flawlessly, seems to be having a decent lap so far. And Ruby picks up quite a bit of speed as she gets into the fat track portion. Now up next is Po' Boy Racing with Gator McCluskey, one of the original OGs from the Sub 4 RA channel. He was pretty successful there. Let's see if he can keep up that momentum. And that's a decent lap from Gator McCluskey. And up next in the number 80 Monte Carlo, really nice looking car. Skeeter Davis got a tiki volcano on it. Reminds me of the Griffin Soul Diecast channel. Check that out. It's a Hawaiian themed Hot Wheels racing channel. Pretty cool guys over there. Skeeter gets a little bit squirrely there. He better hope and pray that somebody has a slower lap, because showboating at this stage in the competition with no owner's points is not a good decision. Speaking of showboating and bad decisions, Vinny Oonce Nightlife had a lot of both last year, and doesn't seem to affect him. That fast car was worth the gamble. Had a pretty decent lap there. And Rusty Wallace, from getting booted from the series mid-season for being too slow to having a car that ripped straight out the package, get fresh graphite. Both of the HSL cars would surely be close to the pole so far if the timing system worked. And Tristan Racewelski has a little bit of a rockier start than his teammates. It's a little squirrely, but manages to recover. And finally, Johnson Jr. in the number 11 T-Bird won 2 races last year in the inaugural season of the NASCAR Nitro Series. Now an official full-time driver, not a field filler like a lot of those other guys. And the last HSL car gives way to Chase Family Racing, another great host. I've sent cars over to him a couple times. His driver for the series is Endcount, and just looking at this, he'll definitely be one to watch for. Lightning fast lap. And up next, Mark Racell Racing. His first driver is Morgan Shepherd. who had a late season charge in one of my flea market cars last year in the NASCAR Nitro Series. And his field filler car will be taken over by Neil Bonnet now that he has a full-time contract. And he gets beached on the wall, but not until well after he crossed the line. And here we have Texas Terry in the number 94 Sunoco car. A lot of 94 cars, most of them are Bill Elliott, but Texas Terry drove that car before Bill Elliott started using that number. And up next in this 60-gram Behemoth Mustang is Rowan. So far, so good for Rowan. Coming into the fat track, navigates the turn flawlessly, gets a little squirrely there, barely skates across the line with half of his car. And now it's his Uncle Elvis teammate Sawyer in the 00 Talladega Grand Prix. Everybody knows these Hot Wheels Pro racers are fast, but he might have been a little too fast. That is an El Reco for him. Looks like he'll be eating overpriced ice cream and listening to emo music while everyone else races. And now are the twins. First is Clyde in his number 94C Ford Thunderbird. This casting has won 2 races last year. William in the 94W. 2 identical castings for Uncle Elvis Racing. Also 2 of the heaviest stocks, heavier than even some of the mods. And William has a great lap there. And this is the 04 of the Joker. He is not a championship contender as he was intended as a gift. Thank you to you-know-who sent it. But it got covered in graphite. The wheels are pretty smooth, so he's going to try his hand out. Lex Luthor will be driving in the even number races. He barely crosses the line. So far, that's the slowest lap. And up next is the number 43 for Sloppy Bear Racing. 65-gram 48 Ford Coupe. And that is Violet. Slides in the turn. Loses a lot of speed. Looks like her and the Joker will be the 2 racing to stay out of the last place spot. And I want to know what the heck happened to Pantone there. He does finish the lap. Yep. There he is. Pretty quick lap from him. And now the drivers are there with their playing cards. Of course, ace is high, 2 is low. The sweets go as tiebreakers from spades, hearts, diamonds, clubs. 2 cars with identical cards will drag race for a tiebreaker. Yeah, there are multiple cards. I'm using a blackjack shoe. It is what it is. I may do a series of drag races based on the points to set the next field until my new timer comes in. Only use these cards for the field fillers unless you guys don't really have a problem with the cards. Let me know your opinions in the comments. Of course, drag racing for qualifying would mean more racing action, which is fun. And these drag races for position would go a little something like this. We have the 2 slowest laps, the 2 cars that seemed to take the longest to go down the track, did not drive into the track buffer at the end. We have Violet and the Joker. The Joker comes off with a huge lead coming out of the gate. And it does not look like a gate-related fluke because he continues to gain time on Violet. But as the track becomes flat, Violet catches up and now is going to make a move on the Joker in the turn. And the Joker just loses all of his momentum and the Joker will be starting last. And up next we have Jimbo Rockford versus Coffee Tart. One Australian team versus the other, both of them big-name title contenders in the Lord Shank Racing Series. Both drew a Queen of Hearts after qualifying, and it seems to be a dead heat heading into the fat track portion. Looks like Coffee Tart gets the advantage coming out of the turn, and that is an El Reco for Jimbo Rockford. And now we have Uncle Elvis Racing Rowan versus Crazy Ruby for Cut Rock Creek Racing. They both drew a 3 of diamonds, so they're going to be starting on the opposite end of the track. But they're going to drag race to see who gets to start one spot better anyway. And it is completely a dead heat before getting into the fat track. And neither one of these drivers is giving each other an inch. And it looks like Crazy Ruby took the inside. If the driver on the inside takes it, they will go for another round and see if he can replicate that on the outside. And it looks like Crazy Ruby is going to do it. Crazy Ruby takes 2 out of 3, 2 out of 2 actually. And we'll get the one better starting spot. And this is your final starting lineup, 23 cars altogether. Only missing Sawyer because he, of course, crashed during his qualifying run, and there wasn't a second driver, so there is no need for a second chance qualifier. But Sawyer's season is far from over. All it takes is the points leader taking a header during qualifying, and you're right back in it. Richie from Puffs Racing draws the pole. Pantone, the twins both get good starting spots. Coffee Tart, Morgan Shepherd, Vinny Nightlife all have decent starting spots too. It's a stacked field, a lot of fast cars. And there's going to be a lot of exciting racing action in the stocks and later on in the mods too. I cannot wait to see you guys out on the track.